number of youths from different political parties for the discussions around politics. Good to have you, Kidi.
Nice to be here.
Lovely to be in your company on the bench.
Thank you.
Asante. Ivy Mushoki is the national coordinator of VAR 3738. Well, she will explain the meaning in detail, but it's also lovely having you, Ivy. Thanks for your time. Angel Mbudia is the national chairperson of the Jubilee Party's Youth League, the former ruling party, and she's here with us as well to give us her input on the show. Asante. Great to be with you. And Kasmuel Makore is with us here, the ODM Party Youth League, and also graced us with his presence this evening on the bench. And lovely having you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Balanced show, balanced guests, and balanced gender as well.
Balanced colors as well.
Yeah.
Well, on colors, I must admit that I am not wearing a red tie to represent the grand old party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the state of the nation from the young people's perspective, let's begin with what the president said this Sunday in Meru County. And this was the direct call, the appeal towards young people, the young voices. And here's what he said.
Vijana wetu muko na nafasi ya kuchukua kura ndio muamue uongozi wa taifa letu tukienda mbele. Lakini mjue hivi, hiyo kura ni 2027. Ama mnafikiri kura ni siku gani? Si ni 2027? Tuko 2020 what? Saa hii tuko 20? Sasa sikizeni. Na hiyo kura itafanywa siku moja, sio mbili, sio siku tatu, sio wiki moja, itafanywa siku ngapi?
First, Kidi, coming to you. Given the impact of the protests,
Yes.
this is an odd reminder, is it, from the consequence of the protests to those who have been pushing for reforms, the young people?
Yes, I think that from where we sit, particularly as young people, considering the number of lives we have lost in 2024 and 2025, the need for us to come together as a country, the need for us as a generation to be able to pursue individual ambition and still make sure that we don't saddle future generations with unnecessary debt and guarantee that they can equally pursue their dream, we have a solemn obligation, particularly as a generation, to make sure that we help steer the country towards the right direction. And to that end, we have got again to come together and figure out that in the after 2024 and 2025, one thing you have observed, we have all observed, is the threat of extremism in politics and the other threat of violent radicalization. These are things that I think that seated on this bench together with other young people out there, we are willing to make sure that we consolidate all the voices of young people, channel them towards achieving transformative change, and ensure we preserve the soul of the nation. Thank you.
Okay. And that then ought to be happening, is it, with the conscience that there must be consistency in the tempo in piling the pressure on the political class?
Yes, and I think as young people, we have done fairly well. If you give me a chance to self-appraise, because I work with young people daily, I think we attempted to save the soul of the nation in 2024, because we all know that the Finance Bill 2024 was a disaster in the making. In 2025, while I think CS Mbadi did fairly a good job with this finance bill, considering the practicality he had to deal with. But I think as young people, we came back to the streets to observe 1 year anniversary of the comrades we lost. But I think government responded with what from where I sit I would call unjustifiable levels of force. We lost so many people on 25th June, on Sabasaba. We lost, I think, up to 41 lives. That is unjustifiable. To that end, then, as young people, we came together from interparties and other organizations and asked ourselves that we cannot continue putting our young people on the front line so that we suffer these casualties. But at the same time, we must sustain the pressure for change. So to that end, I must say from the outset that we came together with what we call manifesto yetu. which is a bigger coalition than inter-parties, to make sure that, so we brought in together young people from academia and institutions of higher learning. We brought in together young people from private sector and trade unions. We brought in together young people from youth-serving organizations, including civil society, to make sure that, because Kenya is one, we all love this country equally. So we have then, under that coalition, we have made sure that we are interfacing with young people to address issues like turning up to register for IDs and to take voters' card. Now that the IBC, the electoral body, has commenced the continuous voter registration, there are challenges we have already encountered. Some of those challenges we have documented. We have started reaching out to what you call political competition management institutions and given them an outstretched arm so that then we collaborate with them to make sure that we have up to 95% participation of young people in next election and put a material dent, as I conclude, a material dent on the voter apathy we witnessed in last election.
So I need to fix Ivy. Your mics, and both of Angel, still testing. So you hang on a bit. Not that the ladies are ostracized. Caswell, given the pressure that young people have piled upon the establishment and the changes in the aftermath that were presidential, it's not commensurate, is it, with the low turnout to register as voters?
No, it is not. Just to answer you concisely, but please allow me to start because it's the first time I'm showing up in a media interview in an orange suit.
Yes.
And as the Swahili people say, mbio mgambo ikilia kuna jambo. So I wore this orange suit because the Orange Democratic Movement turns 20 this year. It's my birthday month and the ODM turns 20, and I would like to, first of all, assuage the people who are members of the largest political party that organizes all the forces around social democracy into one basket north of the Limpopo and south of the Sahara, and to first assure them that, to give them greetings from His Excellency, the Premier, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and assure him that...
Where is he, by the way?
Mzee is out on a break, and we've spoken, and he is okay. And he sends many greetings to his supporters. And as a member of the Youth League, I want to assure you, from all his foot soldiers, Akina CDF, Akina Zizu, Akina Ndach, the young captains who are doing an amazing job, comrades chapters, the Revolutionary Youth League, and the teams that are playing in Mombasa, I wish you all the best at Chungwa Nation at 20 as we go to Mombasa. But now, coming to answer your question, you know, it is imperative for us to understand the canvas upon which this is painted. And I'll just teach in about a minute, because the Constitution that is the magnum opus that we have. If you're talking about voter registration and electoral processes, we have to think about 5 articles in the Constitution. We have to think about Article 38, which speaks about our political rights. Then we have to think about Article 81, which speaks about the electoral principles. Then we have to think about Article 83, which now gets to voter registration, which is a third part in the process. Then we have to think about Article 86, which speaks about the electoral process. Then Article 88, which gives us the mandate of the IEBC. But the thing that I think could contribute to the apathy is even before we get to Article 38, which speaks about our political rights and tells you that as a young person you have the right to belong, you have the right to be included, and then Article 83 gives you, tells you that all elections have how it's supposed to be. There's this Article 37, which was the most consequential article after Article 1 last year, which is gives us the freedom to assemble, to picket, to demonstrate. Very curiously, it comes just before Article 38 that talks about our political rights. That even before we get these political rights, the drafters of the Constitution envision a situation where we need to protect the freedoms that will allow us to demonstrate and picket. As young people, this thing which we might think is apathetic, if you go to Article 88, the mandate of the IEBC beyond the delimitation of boundaries and all that is to ensure continuous voter registration. We're coming from a point where Article 37 was severely violated last year, and we are still the nation is still healing. But then, even if you think about 2013, there were about 14.9 million who were registered, but then you find about 12.9 only voted. You go to 2017, where you find maybe 19 million registered, then you find about 4 million fall off. Then you go to 2022, where there was like it was close to maybe 20 million, then about 22 million,
Yeah.
then only 14 million participate in the process. So there's a difference between registering and actually participating. But then there are also some hurdles that come to the youth where there's an extra hurdle after having an identity card. Then you also have to need to get a voter's card. I'm envisioning a situation in which this country will get to a point where an identity card will be enough so that we can cut off that hurdle for young people, such that any adult of sound mind will be able to participate in a vote just using their identification card.
And Angel, this then points to the direction, is it, of double disadvantage in that turning up to vote has proved problematic in the last election. A majority of the 8 million young people. And now a majority who will make up the voters register, as the IEBC says, are young people. But the numbers are not commensurate with the voices that we have seen coming to the streets calling for good governance.
Well, I think, Ayub, we are overgeneralizing this matter of voters and the young people being on the register. I think that I point the finger at IEBC because the voters register has been closed for the past 3 years. I think the first thing that they should have embarked on, as they call themselves to be prepared and ready for the election, the first thing they should have done is to call for mass voter registration, because now they are basking in the tag of continuous voter registration, which only means that you can walk to any office. So I think they should have been much better versed with preparing the country for a mass voter registration drive, where we'll be seeing IBC in schools, in universities, in towns, in markets, everywhere, so that now we can get into the mood of getting them registered. So we can't sit back and say, so you have to walk to your constituency office. There are counties that are quite vast, and that also disadvantages the youth again. But then what I'd like to say is that the zeal and zest that we have had in the Gen Z revolution, I think that is not a huge thing. It's not a big hurdle for us going to a constituency office. And I think there has to be that intention. You know, when we see there are just 7,000 new registered voters, there is a problem, and we need to dissect it further. I would wish the IFBC even worked with political parties as well. It doesn't have to be an initiative that they take on themselves. I think that it has to be a very coordinated approach with political parties, because we call on to our members across the country when we're having political initiatives, recruitment. I think there's a partnership that needs to be there, not just for Jubilee or for any other party that would like to engage people. And also, I mean, it is in the best benefit of a political party when more people are registered, because, I mean, those are our constituencies. But then again, I'm listening to that clip by Mr. Ruto, and I'm wondering, why is he so paranoid and asking Kenyans, kwani tuko mwaka gani? We are in 2025, and we are going to send him home in 2027. And we are the demographic that is going to do exactly that. Because the injustices that he has caused on this generation are unfathomable. As the youth of Kenya, we are looking at different sectors of our economy, and we are wondering what exactly are we looking at when the healthcare system is still wanting, when students are not learning in schools. I think there's a more a reason to go to the ballot in 2027 than ever before. Yeah. And I like Mr. Ruto a lot, because he has done one thing for this country. He has united us now more than ever in terms of being united against him. And we are going to make sure that we'll fulfill that cause, because we have a date with destiny. Yeah, okay.
And I'll bring up the moral question as to whether 2027 then marks the cusp, the transformational now leap that Kenya will take before the next poll in 2032, and whether the head of state represents the last phase of what I would call the representatives of the old political phases in Kenya. So the moral question holder. Ivy, when in the context of football, the video assistant referee comes in at a juncture where more clarification is needed.
The reason why we cannot reach there, because at the end of the day, we're
going to have apathy. We're going to have no state. We're going to have a lot of injustices, a lot of crime, a lot of pain. I mean, the greatness of a nation is not measured by how loud the leaders speak, but how the people listen. How are they listening to the young people? Are they really listening to what they're saying? So the Viable Alternative Republic is a platform where young people are able to actually resonate and say, okay, we're not happy with the government. We're not happy with the systems and the structures that are working. We're not happy with the health sector. But what is it that we can do to actually better the system? So that's why we become the referee. We become the voices, the alternative voice to actually help beacon the pain, help set the tone of a narrative that is able to actually progress the nation to a standstill. The reason why we are saying this is because the Viable Alternative Republic stands on Articles 37 and 38. Article 37, where it's the right to petition, right to go on the streets and say that we're not happy about this, but now we want to move into Article 38, where it now gives you the right to actually go into a political party or even form a group where it has a viable cause. So, and we see as a Viable Alternative Republic where the cause is just conquer we must. And we are ready to conquer because this nation needs a healing. It needs a kind of resonantial understanding that wrongs have been done, injustices have been done, but how can we be able to make those wrongs better? Okay. What is it that we can have as an alternative voice to the Republic to actually make this country a better nation?
Yeah, is the opposition not enough kiddie to be the alternative?
I think that while the opposition have got a right to exist as they exist, there is still so much that is lacking. And I come from the school of thought that a good idea will always give way to a better idea. If you listen to and I am in the opposition, I must say, if you listen to the principles within the opposition, there is still so much that is lacking from what they are saying. For instance, we have, in the last 1 week, had speculations about the health of the former Prime Minister. Of course, it has shocked our collective conscience when some of our leaders in the opposition have then turned that into, a political punching bag. So then it is against that backdrop that we feel that young people must rise up to the occasion and offer a genuine, intelligent alternative. Ayub, the problems we are grappling with is quickly diminishing. A lot of young people are unable to afford the basics. If you walk across our streets, you see the many young people we have left to fend to their own devices without help or with very little help. So what we had expected to hear from the opposition as an alternative to these failed policies of Kenya Kwanza should have been what they would do to it. The question of education is broken in this country from ECD to to the socioeconomic rights. So because every actor is self-interested, we believe that young people will, acting on their enlightened self-interest, will want to come together and demand a better country.
Yeah, and Kasmuel, then given that, and we had seen you at the forefront during the demonstrations, but ended up supporting the ODM party, and you have defended robustly so your position, given the ideological subscription of the socialism within the party. But hasn't that neutralized the voices of young Kenyans who have now gone into political parties? Therefore, the streets no longer populated by people, young voices that are calling for better and good governance reforms?
The only things that need selling their produce and a well-organized system. The streets must no longer timely death for political misadventures. There is this tendency of this country to romanticize the grotesque, coming from seasoned political chicaneers who speak ill of the state of health. It's gotten to the point as I say, last year we went to the streets because we had nothing to lose but our miserable lives. But by Jove, we are at the point it resides where the people decide it does reside. And so young people being in political parties, because political parties are governments in waiting, by Jove, by us organizing and mobilizing ourselves within these political parties to ensure that the best political party captures power, it is a refusal for us to experience the repeat of the violence that we saw in 2007. And it is also us actively rejecting the voter apathy that we saw in 2022. So for us as young people, it is not that, I don't think our gains should be quantified by how many days we spend on the streets or not, because if we were to look at the main objective that took us to the streets, we achieved it, which was the punitive finance bill of 2024. That achieved. So now I am organizing with this within the Revolutionary Youth League of the Orange Democratic Movement, and I'm urging all the young people, find a political outfit that works and go out to the broad masses and convince them that this is the best ideology. Because currently, what I am going to say is, personally, we want a democracy that is hinged upon, is a social democracy. So just bringing a mixed economy where when we capture government, we hope to ensure that certain quotas are well taken. We have a basic safety net in terms of free healthcare, in terms of free education, in terms of food security, and then we ensure that wealth is not a preserve of the few.
Okay.
A lot of the times when we come to these things, we want to just trade insults. But now is the time for us to go and learn and study, as Comrade Amilcar Cabral tells us that we have to study. And even the good book says, study to show thyself approved.
Okay. Angel, Makore says 2024 represented the right to protest, picket, and call for good governance. Now he says this year represents the registration process needed on the part of young Kenyans to go out and get the voters register. What will 2027 represent for young Kenyans?
My mind. on Discord, just on a social media. And we are seeing a lot of that, those revolutions in Africa. Madagascar is going through a Gen Z revolution as we speak. Morocco is going through that as well. And you know, some of these moments are also driven by things that are happening across the world. When Americans are closing their borders, the Germans are closing their borders, you know, migration is an issue across the world. So we must learn how to fix home. I appreciate the diaspora people who are very much concerned about the governance issues going on in Kenya. They have been at the forefront in supporting the Gen Z revolution because they know in America anything could happen. Maybe your citizenship is tied on who is president. And a president can wake up organizing if we are not members of a political party. I think
mobilize these young people and be able to actually go to the universities, to the colleges, to the institutions and say, we're ready. How can we teach these young people how to become registered voters? These are some of the things that VR is doing, and I believe other organizations and institutions and political parties should be part of this process. So as that being said, I believe that this is a call for the young people to know this is their right. The question was in the topic of discussions, where are the young people? The young people are nowhere to be seen. They're angry. They don't have jobs. They are not satisfied with the system. They are wondering, even if they get the voters card, are they actually going to get the right people on the ballot? But the question is, are we ready to actually portray these young people and show them, okay, this is the direction? Because it's now an intergenerational kind of system. Okay. We're here with Kasamuel. I'm sure hata hajafika 30. Huh? We're here. Yes. But at the end of the day, we are trying to tell you that this is an intergeneration dilute. It's like we are trying to say, the young people are saying we are ready to partner with one another, but we want the right system. We want the right people on board. We want to say that this, there are wrongs that have been made, and young people need the right people on the stage. Yeah. And we are those young people. And
okay, and the much needed way out of the current situation. So when we get back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, then we bring up the moral and fundamental question as to whether the oligarchy is on the verge of being phased out by virtue of the next elections. We're talking about 28 million plus voters, a majority of who are young Kenyans, who we are talking about. So we'll talk about the moral questions, the ideological, and the question of then holding the country together in the aspect of crossing over to the next electoral cycles. And the bench this evening has the pleasure to host these young voices. The discussion was on off the mic. In my company this evening, Kidi Mwaga, the convener, Interparties Youth Forum. Ivy Mushoki is the national coordinator of VAR 37/38. Angel Mbudhia is the national chairperson of the Jubilee Party's Youth League, and Kasmuel Makore is representative of the thing that you cannot take away from the
old tools in politics, but which also have a potential
even more. And over the years, when we talk about monetization of our social platforms are not as monetized as other progressive countries because someone in a different part of the world can conveniently make an income from just tweeting and Facebooking or even doing vlogs and even updating on YouTube. Kenya is not in that spectrum, and it is locked out of the entire ecosystem of monetization. And I think that's something I would think the government would be very proactive in. It's not telling influencers on TikTok that if you blog about avoidable housing, then we are going to remunerate you. That's not the way to go. There's so much that can be done on the digital space that the government of Kenya is simply not taking advantage of. And the young people of Kenya are very ready. They have the wit, they have the energy, they have the time. And now we no longer even want jobs of 8 to 5. We just want where we can clock in, whether we're clocking during the night or during the day. We choose what time we do it because we're in the 21st century and we cannot on social media, especially that this one is a Kikuyu, so you don't like you must have a Kikuyu. Those are very dangerous connotations, and I believe that that's government propaganda because that's one thing that the Gen Z revolution cures, that we can come from different tribes of this country, different parts of this country, and we can have one mission and one goal, and that is giving the government of Kenya sleepless nights.
Yeah, and Kasmul, is that then the cause of worry for the present administration, because it's now meeting with the consequences of an educated Kibaki's kids, the generation that has pushed it to the wall, courtesy of raising issues that even the president appreciated were now about pushing the country on the path of prosperity, not about ethnicity and discussing political figure A or B or C. Is this then, or does this mark the idea that the current political establishment sees this as the major threat to its existence post-2027?
I think so. The question is self-sufficient. It could end with a full stop instead of a question mark. But if I were to enhance it as a product of free primary education, to state categorically and very clearly what we stand for as a party. Apart from our party leader, His Excellency Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, what do we stand for as a center-leftist party, as people who believe in social democracy? What are our economic frameworks? What do we believe in terms of social safety net, so that the people can weigh us against our words?
And is this a welcome conversation within the Orange Party?
It is, and I say this, that's why I'm speaking about it here in the media. I'm in constant communication with the party leader, I'm in constant communication with the party chairman, Governor Gladys Wanga. I'm always speaking with all these people. And if you think about it, currently in the bicameral house, the Orange Democratic Movement is responsible for the most vibrant leaders, and no shade to any other political party. We have leaders like Babu Owino, we have leaders like our Secretary General Sifuna, we have Senator Crystal Asige, we have Senator Rene Mayako, we have Senator Eddie Okech. There's so many, they're innumerable. And if you think about it in terms of this being a welcome conversation, people might wax lyrical and ye and haw, but even in terms of nomination, we have a certificate that has been issued to a 27-year-old. This is a showcase of goodwill that the party is willing to invest in the next generation. We might have qualms and whatever, but this is a sign that if we are vigilant and if we are aggressive enough, these are things which are easily realizable. So these conversations, the D in Orange Democratic Movement stands for the democracy, and I've not seen a party that has welcomed so much contradictions, and it sharpens itself based on the amount of contradictions it receives. Even the people who criticize, they do not leave the party. They criticize it to enrich the conversation around the party. So I think we are ready, and I would urge other young people, if you want to join a progressive movement, join us. But if not, and you found other political parties, let us go away from this politics of these old people who want to insult each other and show each other bodies. Let us say that I disagree with Angel, not because I disagree with her party leader. I disagree with her because on the principles of social welfare, we are not aligned. On the principle of workers' rights, we are not aligned. On the principle of privatization or state-owned resources, we are not aligned.
Okay.
If we take our politics there, it will take away the violence, it will take away the corruption, and we will have the country that we fought for, that we exercised Article 1 and Article 37 last year for as the Gen Z.
Okay, and Ivy, is this the perfect time that the VAR should come in?
That's a very good question. And I really like that, because the truth is we must acknowledge the moral question is there are systemic barriers that have been developed for the young people. The exclusion, the social exclusion, the right to food, the right to healthcare, the right to systems that actually work. And that's why the Gen Z went to the streets in June 25th last year. It's because these are things that they're supposed to be given, but the system is too corrupt. It's too individualistic. And we need to now start thinking, how can we be able to benefit and better our people? How can we be able to actually push our people going forward? Article 43 of the Constitution gives us that narrative. It gives us that prevalence. Everybody, right to healthcare, right to food, right to good housing. These are systems that actually need to be there. And the Viable Alternative Republic is offering that solution. We want to sit down with these young people and ask them, what is your plan for the next Kenya? How does the next Kenya, how does the viable alternative Kenya look like to you? What is the next Kenya like to you? What do you want to see changed in the next system of government? Do you want to see maybe more young leaders? Do you want to see more AI tools that can be able to actually generate more income for you? What is it exactly that you want that can actually set precedents for the next generation to come? And I believe that the Viable Alternative Republic is that solution, because it was born in the Gen Z riots last year, and now it has come to fruition. And that's why we are trying to say that as the young people, you're able to actually form a body, form a system, form something that actually helps you to move towards the next system of government. I believe that the Viable Alternative Republic is that platform, and it is the future, and it is the voice of a generation. And I'm glad that I'm spearheading that nation.
Yeah, and Kidi, are young Kenyans, 4 of you included here, practically outpacing yourselves? You are in the Bundestag, the German parliament, with the representatives from the Inter-Parties Youth Forum.
Very good.
Ivy was at the climate conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. Angel has been to the United States of America, to the Netherlands for engagements majorly on politics and governance.
Yes.
And the orange man here has been to Brussels. And also to Germany and America as well.
Yes.
So what does this tell us about this generation in terms of their scope of thinking and how they want to be governed?
I think that one of the things we have appreciated very intimately is that Kenya is is going to be a central player in the emerging world order. And when I talk of the emerging world order, this marks the end of unipolarity as we knew it. And a lot of countries are now emerging. One of such countries is Germany, particularly Germany as the leader of the EU. So as young people, as emerging leaders, we are deliberate to interface with our peers across the globe to make sure that when we get the opportunity to steer this country, then we not only learn from the mistakes of our predecessors, but we are also ready to interface with the emerging leaders from other parts of the world and make sure that Kenya does not play second fiddle, not to any state, not to any interest. So I think that the movement you have described, my brother was in Brussels, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And he speaks fluent French.
I was telling him that I've always loved his English.
Yes.
But on account of his French, I will be buying more regular coffees so that we take coffee together.
Thank you, my brother.
So when we move left, right, and center, we'll go to a country like Germany. And I started by speaking about the threat of extremism. The threat of extremism is a potent threat to democracy all over the globe. If you look at the US and how MAGA has snowballed into whatever it is, you go to the UK and how what started as Brexit and how it has snowballed.
The Reform Party by Nigel Farage.
Yes. And now if you go to Germany, there is the other...
The Alternative for Deutschland.
Yes. Yes, AFD.
Yeah.
So when you come over here, you also still see the idea that, and there is this, how political extremist forces oversimplify political solutions. I come from a place where I believe that we can still achieve transformative political change without falling prey to the seduction of the oversimplistic solutions offered by political extremists, either in the political right or in the political left.
Okay. So and when we get back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last break, by the way, so it's going to be full hold thereafter.
Okay.
Then we expound that.
Yes.
Given what's happening and the global political alliances, you have talked about the hawkish Republicans and the armpit of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the long list, the Alternative for Deutschland.
Pete Hegseth.
Pete Hegseth, yeah.
He told us that Fafo.
He seems to be wanting fit generals in the U.S. military, but the president is not a featherweight either. So we'll talk more about that, ladies and gentlemen, when we get back from the break. Of course, pointing to post-2032 for prosperity and how to course-correct some of the previous challenges that we have encountered. Certainly, this is a great country, but we need solutions going forward. After the break here on The Bench, stay tuned.
Friday, 10 p.m.
Unajua ni kudunda kudonjo.
Piga statue.
Salam Konko.
Akufa juu, kila mtu hapa ndani kufa juu.
E for the energy.
E for the vibe.
Say E for the energy. Unaweza niita media messiah Sombor.
Cause Africa's mega hype man, good man.
10 over 10 every Friday from 10 p.m.
Riba lukumpia, lukuni piam 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 lukumpia. Lukudiri, diriba lukumpia, lukuni piam piam lukumpia, lukudiri, diriba lukumpia, lukuni piam.
It's big, bigger than you can imagine. It's massive. It's the biggest jackpot. Shabiki Super Jackpot Sahini 100 million. Yes, predict 17 games na 99 bob na ujishikie 100 million. Bonuses ni from 13th correct prediction. No kipata zote wrong.
Linda Mama, Uhuru said, was better. Was better than Uhuru's Linda Mama. So it's Linda and leaders in the ring